Hi, and welcome to THORsday Comics. I'm Tom Scioli, author of I Am Stan, a graphic biography of the legendary Stan Lee. And there's some I Am Stan news. May 6th will be Free Comic Book Day, and there's going to be a Free Comic Book Day book of I Am Stan. It's a nice big excerpt of the book that'll be available at comic book stores on Free Comic Book Day. Ask your comics retailer about it. Make sure they order a copy for you. This excerpt from the book, a comic book sized excerpt of the full book, it covers a lot of the stuff that I think people are going to be very interested in this book. It covers a lot of the Marvel years, the sort of the years when this kind of stuff is being created, the Thor and Spider-Man and whatnot. And let your retailer know about it so that they have a copy for you. And you can also pre-order the full book by following the link in the show notes below. And now back to the show. This is an issue of Thor that's collected in one of these reprints. I don't have the original issue. This is a reprint of Thor 109, When Magneto Strikes. Written by Stan Lee, the monarch of the Marvel Age, at the pinnacle of his power. Illustrated by Jack Kirby, the prince of pageantry at the height of his titanic talent. Inked by Chic Stone, the dean of line design at the peak of his prowess. Lettered by S. Rosen, the sultan of spelling at the little table in his studio. And as always, Jack Kirby is the co-writer of this comic, even though he is not specifically credited as such. By special arrangement with the publishers of X-Men magazine, namely ourselves, right in the thick of Marvel Universe as the Marvel Universe, where you're getting these sort of crossovers and guest appearances and cross promotion, which serves a great sort of business purpose, but as a reader, it makes you feel like these heroes exist in a large organic world, and that there's a basically the Marvel universe, this larger universe of books that are not operating in isolation but have effects one on the other. Thor's at the museum. Thor has become a part of culture. He's become pop art. Somebody made a sculpture, and like it, Thor, it's one of our leading exhibits for the proposed Hall of Heroes at the fair. And so here's more of the Hall of Heroes. This is aspirational. This is wishful thinking on the part of Jack and Stan, that they're sort of, fledgling group of characters, this new line of books that's doing pretty well, but, they're by no means institutions at this point. But to, create, sort of plant the seed in the mind of the reader that these characters are extremely important, and that there's these, halls at the fair that are devoted to them with these, very impressive statues. And, this is the reality we live in now. You can go to Disney World or whatever and see statues of the Marvel heroes. Thor goes flying off. This coloring error happens from time to time where Thor gets shorts. And now we have this, super cool cutaway to Magneto's submarine, very nicely disguised, just beautiful. What a great looking tree too. I love Kirby's twisted up gnarly trees. I love Kirby's technology. You got this periscope that looks not quite like any periscope I've ever seen. It's just really great. And now we're in X-Men land, another book that Jack Kirby's working on at the same time. This is the classic lineup. This is when I was a kid, I was reading classic X-Men, which was reprinting the Chris Claremont, John Byrne, Terry Austin run. These are what I would have thought of as like the really old X-Men. At this point, these are, super fresh new characters and who've, gone on, to be in the movies. And so you got, Toad, Mastermind, not looking too different from how he looks in X-Men 2. Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver, Magneto's sending them off on a mission. He's got this cool, magnet device he's hooking himself up to. Don Blake is at his office, and all of a sudden, all his equipment starts going nuts. Scissors are flying past, and it's because of Magneto's sort of magnetic supercharger that he's created. He's got to fly into action. And this, again, might even be in the same spot, but like in the previous issue, we had, operating room scene, where Kirby's drawing this, like, really great looking, just sort of normal stuff, not superhero stuff, taking up, like 2/3 of the page, just looking great. And so we get another moment like that of like a car lifting a very nicely referenced, 60s or 50s car lifting up. This guy's motorcycle's taking off, just a really nice moment. Nice getting, what moments he chooses to highlight in that way. Thor goes out to investigate. He's at the waterfront. He sees this weird tree sticking up, a very kind of Asgardian-looking tree. Thor always looks good when he's in a scene with a gnarly-looking tree. Sees this hatch, realizes it's a fake, smashes this airlock door in. He's face to face with Magneto. This layout kind of reminds me of Fantastic Four #6. There's a similar little cutaway there, and so he's standing off against Magneto. And Magneto is, he's kind of like a Satan figure, and he's kind of, showing Thor all of his riches, and he's trying to do sort of a Faustian thing. He wants Thor. He's got an eye for talent. He's putting together his Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, and he wants Thor to join up. And he's, pouring Thor a nice little drink. Let's toast to it. And Thor's like, "Arrogant villain. Thor is no evil mutant. I'm the son of Odin, sworn protector of the human race. So be it, fool. I offered you greatness, but you chose defeat." I love these like early days of the Marvel Universe where characters are meeting each other for the first time and they don't quite know each other and their reputations don't precede each other. And so it's like, it kind of gives Thor a little bit of freshness where it's like, somebody thinking, oh, maybe he's a mutant, and then him sort of explaining the specifics of what he is. And then Magneto, starts doing his thing, beautifully illustrated by Kirby, and the fight's on. It's, pretty nice. It's a nice exhibition of Magneto's powers. There had been magnetic powered, super characters in comics before, but I've never, prior to Kirby, I never saw their powers exhibited with such imagination and panache and real urgency. And so, look at this beautiful shot, the hammer swinging around. And Magneto puts his magnetic powers onto Thor's hammer. And yes, it is effective. He stops the hammer in midair. Kind of reminds me of Kylo Ren stopping Poe Dameron's laser blast in midair. A very impressive exhibition of power. All the hyperbole we get about Thor's hammer, and to make it actually like stop and hover in midair. It's he's not holding it in his hand. That would be a different thing altogether. But very impressive. And now Thor's running towards him, and we get some Saturday morning movie serial stuff of the Magneto pressing a button and the walls closing in. The sort of trash compactor situation. Just, very, very beautifully staged. You could almost like recolor this as like Darth Vader and then shutting the door on Luke or something. And again, it's just kind of pure action. Two, very powerful characters duking it out with their powers. It's not a terribly deep issue, but it is a lot of fun. It's a lot of action. It's a lot of, what the audience is looking for. Again, I like a little more depth in my superhero comics than this, but, this is still, running circles around the competition. And a superhero comic can sometimes just be, an all-out fun action fest, which Kirby does from time to time. And there's enough story going on. It's just that it's more of like Thor in an X-Men story, Thor in the X-Men world, which is kind of like, it's like a nice novelty. It's kind of a fun thing to sort of take your character, take him out of his normal element and send him into the world of some of your other characters and seeing what happens with the contrast. The Brotherhood of Evil Mutants are taking a beating from the X-Men. And this, I'm assuming, is Cyclops' optic blast. It would work better, colored red. But they're getting attacked by the X-Men. We don't see the X-Men because this is not an issue of the X-Men. As much of like the X-Men's milieu is in here, we don't see the X-Men, at least not yet. Which I think is also kind of smart and kind of cool, keeping them off panel. The interior of Magneto's sub is, kind of a fun area for action, adventure, and hijinks. Just, we get a great little half-page panel here, seeing, the figures at odds with each other. You're never seeing a composition like this in a DC comic at this time. Lifts them in the air, throws them. Great action fest. And then, again, more Saturday morning serial stuff of, escaping through a trap door. Then he sets like a bomb trap to get Thor. Magneto escapes in his little mini sub. There's another boat pursuing him with an X on it. And so it's the X-Men. Again, we don't really see the X-Men. They're kind of like this off-panel presence, giving them a little extra gravity, a little extra weight. It's not time for Thor to meet the X-Men yet. He can meet the X-Men's villains, the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, but the meeting of the X-Men will come later. And so then he sees the bomb, but it's been frozen, presumably by Bobby Drake. So again, we're seeing the effects of the X-Men without seeing them. Just like a really great storytelling element that Kirby does, and you can think of more sort of better known uses of that, of just like the coming of Galactus, where like you hear about Galactus, you see the effects of Galactus, but you don't see him till the end. This is very effective dramatically. And then Thor flies away. The sub explodes. Thor did it without it activating the proton bomb. And Thor doesn't know exactly what happened, but I suspect it was not from me that Magneto fled. There were others he feared even more. Someday I shall learn the truth. So a nice little tease, just really fun stuff. Magneto's been, exiled from his submarine in this very, cool looking, undersea situation. He's exiled from his submarine, separated from his brotherhood, but I shall now rejoin Quicksilver and the others. This is but a temporary defeat. Sooner or later, ultimate victory will be mine. It cannot be otherwise. I was born to rule mankind. And Dr. Blake makes a little call at Jane Foster's house. She's, lounging around, looking like a romance comic protagonist, kind of, laying on her bed, reading a book, eating an apple, a little bit of, Adam and Eve symbology there. Well, Dr. Blake, how heroic of you to venture outdoors on such a windy day. Their relationship, it's a little more, playful, a little more romantic now. Will he ever tell her how he feels? That's been settled. They're a couple now. A big step forward for the soap opera. They're sort of like an established, comfortable couple. So with soap opera, the happiness can't last forever. So there's going to be a monkey wrench thrown into things soon. And here they are with sort of this like Brady Bunch kitchen. She makes some food for him. They're inching towards the domestic. Could wedding bells be too far behind? I never knew ham and cheese could taste so good. Did I ever tell you you're wonderful? Not often enough, you silly goop. Here, have a glass of milk. And, they get this nice little moment looking out into the city. A brief respite from the storm and drang of life in the Marvel Universe. And so, there you have it. And I could not track down my copy of the reprint that has the Tales of Asgard that goes with this issue. The Tales of Asgard is not in this particular reprint. It's in a different reprint. I couldn't track down my copy of it. So I'll do a review of that Tales of Asgard in a separate video whenever I do track it down. I'm Tom Scioli, author of I Am Stan, a graphic biography of the legendary Stan Lee. I Am Stan will be featured on Free Comic Book Day, which is Saturday, May 6th. Make sure your local comic book store knows to order a copy of the Free Comic Book Day edition of I Am Stan. It's a comic book-sized excerpt of the book that features, a large chunk of what I think people will be very interested in this excerpt, because it features a lot of the Marvel years, the earliest days of, Spider-Man and the various Marvel superheroes. So I think you'll like that. Let your local comics retailer know that you're interested in that book, so they'll order a copy for you. And you can also pre-order I Am Stan by following the pre-order link in the show notes below. Follow me on Twitter at Tom Scioli and on Instagram at Tom_Scioli. And please support my Patreon. Go to patreon.com, search Tom Scioli, and sign up to join the Patreon. If you support the Patreon, you'll have full access to the archive of comics and artwork that I've posted there over the years, as well as new comics and artwork as I post them. I'll see you next THORsday.